Extraordinary. After the rain, morning dew, Leon was not familiar with it when he heard from Eaton. It turned out to be a kind of tea. When the dusty memory scorpion was opened, Leon immediately remembered a series of memories about the morning dew after the rain. Morning dew after the rain he used to drink. This kind of green leaf tea that John prefers. The tea itself is soaked in a light green color. If the tea leaves of the needle tip are swayed up and down in the hot water, looking at the green color, it was like Buddha seeing in the lush forest. As for the taste, Leon couldn't remember it. Should it be a bitter water? Because John Old Man likes to drink this type of tea. Is there any strange place in the morning after the rain? Leon asked John. John's face has not changed yet, but there is a doubt in his eyes. There is no strange place. The ordinary tea you have also drunk, and your parents have also drunk. But, however, if there is something strange to say, there is only one possibility. What is it possible? Leon quickly asked. John didn't immediately answer, but let the dumb servant step back, which slowed down. The tea seedlings in the morning after the rain are not from the world, but from me in another world. When John's words were not finished, Leon would have had the look. Oh, since Earl Eaton is not coming for you just for morning after the rain, then I will send an invitation to Earl Eaton to come to the estate tomorrow and drink tea. He didn't want to listen to John's fallacy about the theory of alienation. After that, Leon left and turned. John looked at the tea box in the hands of Ignor and fell silent. Water vapor and sparse smoke. On the art table, Ignor looked at the tea leaves in a transparent cup undulating under the scour of boiling water. This is morning dew after the rain. There seems to be nothing surprising. In private, Ignor likes to drink the strong tea with milky taste, a full mouthful of the rich milk that accompanied by tea residue sticking to his mouth, the tongue rolling out and taking a final aftertaste. He always felt very satisfied. Now, John likes to tease him, and children love to drink milk. So, in order to show a mature side in front of John, and usually in front of other people, he drinks the tea with bitterness and grass. In the morning after the tea, he has drunk countless times. Bitter taste and returning to Gan. There is nothing special about drinking, but why does Earl Eaton specifically ask his brother about morning dew after the rain? It is true, as the instructor said, they have doubts about the source of this tea seedling. When Ignor thought about it for a moment, he couldn't get an answer. He simply didn't want to and continued to look at some of the materials compiled in the mentor's bookcase. Most of these materials are knowledge of the Gold Pink Empire and neighboring countries, including languages, culture, history, characters, medicine, astrology, and so on. After watching an epic poem sung by the warriors in the sea, Ignor commented on the following. The language is beautiful, the rules are integrated, and the focus of vocabulary praise, it's too much. It makes it impossible to speculate on the possible historic materials. It can be supplemented as a historical material of Haishu. John liked to study physical data and biological morphology in early years, but he later discovered that some of the physical constants represented by the data do not follow the rules of Earth. This made him realize the peculiarities of this world. So in recent years, he prefers to organize some literary historical materials. The Jinka Empire and the surrounding countries seem to have no history posts. It can be said the historical materials that John has compiled over the past 10 years are considered to be unique. Ignor has a very interest in historical materials that the tutor has recently compiled, so he is very serious. After turning to the historical materials, Ignor saw the beginning of the next sheepskin scroll, and John commented on the paragraphs in Chinese. There are not too many people in this world, and there is not much literate knowledge. The basic universal knowledge does not seem to appear. Just like the name of the macroscopic living environment, ancient China has the concept of a heavenly place. Although it is cognitively wrong, it has always been life. The planet has a concept. The people in this world are limited to the concept of the country, but there is no concept of macro unification. I believe and I hope to find the name of the planet or the world in other literature. If it is not found, I will name it again. After this passage, John began to record information about some universal values of the people in this world. These materials, as a native, are naturally clear, so they only open up and roll over one another volume after a brief reading. Applicable guide for Western Chinese medicine and in this world. This is the volume of all Chinese information. It is estimated that only Aner and John in this entire world would understand the meaning. Unconsciously, the twilight came, and the firewoods of the fireplace were ignited by the servant. The warm fire, the insects in the yards, and the crows from somewhere on this gentle night. But at the end, on the plains not far from the town of Gru, a row of tents built around a raging campfire were especially striking. In the middle of the tent group, there is a huge and gorgeous black Phenom pens. The rest of the tents are like stars, and the black tents are protected. This is the temporary station of Earl Eaton Mon, and the blacktop tent is not the camp of Eaton. The cold wind of the frozen earth and the whistling of the whistling without covering the trees, even the knights with armor began to tremble. Count Earlton saw that a pair of defending knights patrolled around the camp, and all the other knights were resting by the campfire. Now, after this arrangement, Count Eaton slowly walked into the gorgeous blacktop tent. As soon as he entered the tent, he immediately unloaded his majestic expression when he gave orders and put on a respectful look. There aren't too many decorations in the tent, but everything carries a hint of magic. In one corner of the tent, a white, bearded old man with a black robe was struggling with a book and a crystal ball floating around him. There seems to be fog in the crystal ball. The white bearded old man looks at the crystal ball from time to time and then buries his head. Eaton looks at the crystal ball but only feels dizzy and quickly moves his head to the other side. "You have found the morning after the rain?" The low-pitched voice came from the old man's head. With a trace of fear, Eaton will explain the conversations in pat manner, and Leon pat today. "Oh." The old man in the beard put down the feather pen and dried the rest ink on the paper. Although the other party didn't know the morning dew after the rain, but his face changed slightly after seeing it, the wooden box. Is he the wooden box maker? Or is it also a caster? Eaton sneaked at the pattern of the eye. The lines painted a roll of waves, and there were weird lines and symbols in the middle. Just at glancing at it, Eaton felt sore to his eyes. The magical pattern of the scroll is called Rolling Waves. The war with the sea otter is useful to you. After a pause, the white-bearded old man said, "Unfortunately, you have no talent. Otherwise, you will return to the family, and I would take you away from the continent. Father can take Alan, brother, and sister. I am satisfied. As for me, staying in the family is no problem." The white-bearded old man sighed at first, but then he remembered his two grandchildren, and his eyes were soothed a lot. The talents of the wizards have always been rare. Even in some places, there is no one. And our family can connect two talents. It's already a godsend. And Alan and Irene are my grandchildren, and my favorite grandchildren. I will naturally take care of them. Unfortunately, my talent is not high. It is estimated that in a few years, I will need to rely on my grandchildren. After the white man was finished speaking, he put his gaze on the wooden box on the table. The carving is interesting, but its texture does not fluctuate. Should it just be ordinary people? The white-bearded old man shook his head and found the caster in the old mainland. This continent even imprisoned for elemental fluctuations. The witches who do not rely on the elements, such as the side of blood vein, cannot find corresponding materials on this continent. After all, this is the forgotten continent. Since Leon is not willing to tell the truth, don't blame me. Eaton's hands and fists were used for rituals, and his eyes flashed through the faint glory. It is a big thing for his father's promotion. I will let Mar tonight lead two teams to ride iron and the Pat Manor. The white-bearded old man did not speak. This was the default. Although he is a white wizard, he will not take the initiative to kill ordinary people. But since it is about his promotion, killing a few people is no problem. Besides, a white wizard is a good wizard in the eyes of ordinary people, but this is a joke. The opposition between a white wizard and a dark wizard lies in the different uses of technique. The other values are actually similar, but they are lazy in killing. Eaton discussed with his father in some detail the problems of Alan and Irene, and they are ready to leave. At this time, the Cavalier Knights suddenly squatted outside the tent to ask for help. The mounted obituary just now of the Viscount Manor, the Viscount Lord dispatched the messenger